to Canada. Let's get a view of Canadian involvement now. I speak to the country's former ambassador to Afghanistan, Chris Alexander, who's currently travelling in Denmark. Chris Alexander, we've spoken before. I know how much you care about what's happening in Afghanistan, and just your thoughts on where we are tonight.
Well, I think for people who invested a good part of their lives in this mission, it's heartbreaking. And to hear the stories of people who were in their homes, fearing for their lives, we've betrayed them. And this is not what those of us who served there signed up for. This is not what those of us who were involved in international agreements concerning Afghanistan ever expected to happen. There has been a betrayal at several levels, and it needs to be analyzed properly, and the new situation needs to be understood for what it is. This is not just the Taliban coming to power. This is an internationally recognized terrorist group. They are misogynist. They have a track record of abuse, systematic abuse of the rights of women and girls. They're already on record as having committed war crimes. And yes, we hope that there will not be violence in Kabul or elsewhere in the country now that they have domination of it. But their track record leaves that very much open to doubt. And so who is responsible? Well, yes, US administrations, those who did this deal last year with the Taliban that was unsound, Joe Biden for his untimely, intemperate, immoral, I would say, withdrawal. But also those on all sides who refuse to see the conflict for what it was. The Taliban haven't just risen up out of Afghan villages over years. They are an organized force that has been preparing for this moment of invasion for years, and their sponsors and backers are in Pakistan. It's Pakistan's military. So my message is that Pakistan's military leadership, especially General Bajwa, the chief of the army staff in Pakistan, who is responsible for this invasion, he's responsible for what happens from now on. And the world should see that very clearly. It's not a legal act that they have committed. It's an act of aggression. But the responsibility, the accountability is clear. And I think all of us should focus on that reality. It's something we've neglected over 40 years, Pakistan's role in Afghanistan. It's something that went unaddressed through all my years of involvement in the country. And it's something we need to turn around to talking about openly, reporting on thoroughly. The BBC has done quite a good job, but much more of this story needs to be told.
The Pakistani Foreign Ministry has pushed back, in fact, at you directly and personally, and said that you are not being truthful about their intentions or their involvement in Afghanistan. And Pakistan is clearly a powerful player now, isn't it, with the news coming that a delegation of Afghan elders is not only going to Doha, there's one that's already reached Pakistan tonight.
Well, the Pakistan Foreign Ministry can spew all the propaganda they wish, but there is no serious analyst of Afghanistan or Pakistan that doubts the central role, the foundational role that Pakistan's intelligence service played in creating, launching, sustaining the Taliban. So let's talk about that openly. Yes, people are in fear in both Afghanistan and Pakistan when they speak up about it, but those of us who have the opportunity to be honest about these things should take this opportunity. We were active, some of us, on social media in the last 2 weeks, saying that the only solution to this situation was to sanction Pakistan for these acts of aggression, for this invasion. That was the largest social media trend in Afghan history, and it's not going to go away because Afghans do not welcome this foreign presence in their country. They're reacting to it under the surface the same way they reacted to the Soviet invasion in 1979. And I think the international community has to stand with them. This is not a fate that Afghans have chosen, and we still owe them a duty of protection, especially after the last 20 years when...
Chris, can I just come back on that, because one of the things that Anthony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, has said today is that it is up to the Afghan people now to shape their fate. And it's a hard question to ask, but what can be done by the international community, by the outside world, if the people of Afghanistan themselves are not resisting the Taliban?
Well, with all due respect to his office, that statement is absolutely absurd. People cannot shape their fates, and Afghans could not build solid institutions while they were under attack by irregular formations of the neighboring country's intelligence service. Pakistan has the 6th largest army in the world. They've been hard at work creating these groups that have now fanned out over all of Afghanistan to take the country over. We need to talk about that if we want to talk about Afghans having sovereignty and having the ability to choose their own fate. This mission has not been a success, as Anthony Blinken claimed, precisely because the United States and all the other key international partners have refused to talk about this issue. When Russia invaded Ukraine, there were consequences, there were sanctions. When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan in 1979, there were serious consequences. When Pakistan undermines Afghanistan's sovereignty, sponsors a group that commits war crimes, that systematically violates the rights of women, there is silence. That is a double standard, that is a mistake, and our first step towards correcting it should be to bring sanctions, political action against those in Pakistan who have been sponsoring this terrorist group that is now controlling Afghanistan.
Chris Alexander, I'm going to stop you there, not least because we've just lost your vision, but thank you for speaking to us, sharing your views from Denmark tonight. I'm joined now by Mark Mallock-Brown, who